Clinton City Council will please come to order. We'll begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Seeley.
Here.
McGraw.
Here.
Detterman.
Here.
O'Neill.
Here.
Connell.
Here.
Allison.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Detterman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to dispense with the reading of the regular council meeting minutes and the committee of the whole minutes of June 28th, 2016, and they be approved as published on July 11th, 2016.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Connell.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Detterman.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is a recognition to an individual in the city of Clinton, Marcia Smith. If you'd like to come up here and join me. Marcia received the Governor's Volunteer Award on June 28th out at Cedar Rapids. And this is a quote from the governor. "I am pleased to honor those who have given the precious gift of their time to meet the essential needs across Iowa. The commitment of these volunteers and all the volunteers helps Iowa consistently remain in the top 10 states in the nation for its volunteerism rate." And for those that don't know, Marcia has been volunteering her time in the sewer and solid waste department with our bill collection. Now, as the city of Clinton and as a mayor, I do not like to be outdone by the governor, because this is my city. And so on behalf of, you have the actual governor. Yeah, sure. And we'll turn this around. Yeah, you'll turn this around. Well, here, hang on. We have to do the photo op. Okay. There. It's always important for the photo op. Now, on behalf of the city of Clinton, and being the mayor of the city of Clinton, I would like to give to you an official key to the city of Clinton. Yeah, Nita wants to get it. Now, there's one trick to this key. I do not know where the lock is. You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Congratulations. Well, I think it's pretty hard to continue after that.
Anticlimactic.
Since we can't top that, should we just
Adjourn.
We will move into our public hearings for, Marcia, wait a minute. We'll move into our public hearings. There's an official box for this. The official key box. I was going to have someone read something, but I guess I have the next part of the script here. I'm going to convene a public hearing concerning the accepting bid and awarding contract for the 13th Avenue North Traffic Safety Improvement Project S-2016. Have we heard anything in the clerk's office?
We have not, Your Honor.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address this public hearing? Hearing none, Councilmember Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I convene a public hearing concerning accepting bid and
No, I
award.
already did that.
Oh, sorry. I moved that a
You could have
public
done
hearing.
that while I was.
Not yet, Cody,
Neither
not
am
yet. It'll be a couple of years.
All right, let's start this again. Thank you, Your Honor. I move a public hearing concerning accepting bid and awarding contract for the 13th Avenue North Traffic Safety Improvement Project S-2016 be entered into the record.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Detterman.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution accepting bid and awarding contract to Leslie Electric for 13th Avenue North Traffic Safety Improvement Project S-2016 for $246,709.20. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Detterman.
Just want to let the public know that, they were the low bid. The next bid was $264,000. That's all.
Any other discussion? Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
yes,
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes,
Thank you. That concludes our public hearings for tonight. We'll move to audience comment. I have no one that has filled out a slip, so I will ask if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council tonight. And hearing none, we will move on to our consent agenda. Councilmember Detterman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented on the attachment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
yes,
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
yes,
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to motions, resolutions, and ordinances. Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move the council consider an ordinance for the third time.
second,
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
An ordinance amending
Wait a
the
minute,
code.
we have to have roll call first.
Oh, sorry.
Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Allison,
yes,
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
yes,
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Thank you.
An ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Clinton, Iowa by deleting chapter 79A resident permit parking districts. I move the ordinance under consideration be placed on its final passage and adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Allison,
yes,
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
yes,
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Allison.
Your Honor, I have an ordinance under consideration for the second time.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw,
yes,
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes,
Seeley.
Yes.
Thank you.
an ordinance amending Chapter 156 floodplain regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Clinton, Iowa. I move this resolution, well, we're going to go for the third.
Well, then you need to suspend the rules.
I want to suspend the rules and consider this ordinance for the third time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw,
yes,
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes,
Seeley.
Yes.
an ordinance amending Chapter 156 floodplain regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Clinton, Iowa. Your Honor, I move that the ordinance under consideration be placed on its final passage and adopted.
Second.
We have to move to suspend the rules and do that.
Again, huh?
Yes.
I move to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its final passage.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw,
yes,
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes,
Seeley.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember McGraw.
thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution approving a contract between the Clinton Area Chamber of Commerce and the City of Clinton, Iowa for funding of the Chamber's Celebrate Clinton marketing campaign. I move that the resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember O'Neill.
Turn it off.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
I just want to make a comment that, I think this is a move in the right direction to, remove and get rid of a lot of the negativity that's been around for a while and make a positive move towards waving our flag a little bit higher and voicing our voice a little bit louder. So I think it's a great investment in funds, and I think it's going to do a lot of good. I think we've seen it work for other communities, so I'm anxious to see this get started and see the results and what we reap from it. So I think it's a good project, and I thank the Chamber for becoming a partner with us. Russ with that.
Councilmember Detterman.
I would like to, say the same thing. It's great to have the chamber doing this and having the city partner with it. You know, we need to do more and more every day with partners, and so this is a great example of that. So, all in favor of it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember McGraw.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to see us do something on Facebook also. I think we need to target some of the young people in Clinton, and I think, from what I hear, that's where the younger people are, is on Facebook.
Any other comments? Councilmember Seeley?
Thank you, Your Honor. I want everyone to know that this is a joint venture and the city is not solely funding this. So this is joint funds between the city and other organizations throughout town. So just as a point of clarification.
Anyone else? Could we have roll call then, please?
Councilmember O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Abstain.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Ditterman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a resolution supporting the reduction of fees and charges of the Clinton County Area Solid Waste Agency. Move that be adopted as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Allison.
Your Honor, I have a resolution continuing one part-time solid waste equipment operator position. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Connell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution approving Vision 8, request for redemption of city credit card reward points for gift cards. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our motions, resolutions, and ordinances for tonight. We have no unfinished business, so we will move to Councilmember Detterman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move we adjourn to 7 PM, July 26, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned, and we will immediately go into the Clinton City Council Committee of the Whole for Tuesday, July 12th. And whenever our city clerk is ready, we'll begin with roll call, please.
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes. Here.
McGraw,
Here.
Detterman,
Here.
O'Neill,
Here.
Connell,
Here.
Allison.
Here.
Thank you. Our first item tonight is the Clinton Regional Development Corporation's update, and Mike Kirchhoff. I'm certainly glad, Mike, we didn't tell you to come at 7:30, because you would have. That happened to us the last meeting, I believe. We ran a little early, and some of our presenters were told to come a little later.
I'll be honest with you, Mayor, if you told me 7:30, I'm not sure I'd have known what time it was, and where I've been lately. Mike Kirchhoff, President and CEO, Clinton Regional Development Corporation. Just got back from 2 weeks in Ireland, so that was I know, darn a lot.
Should we
All the
play our
Guinness you
little
can drink, right? Yeah, really.
So we got a Guinness Brewery coming to town?
I wish that were the case, Councilman, I really do. But I really also enjoyed my visit to Jameson, so, yeah, that was probably, I know I've only got a few minutes, but that was probably the coolest thing I did, was I was able to fill my own bottle and label my own bottle at the Jameson Distillery. That was pretty cool. Thank you for your time on the agenda this evening. I know your schedule is short, and I think we've been allocated 15 minutes. We want to try to do this in 10, so I'm going to do my best auctioneer impersonation because Janelle and Andy are also going to speak, and we want to allow some time for questions. Start on page 1. This is the I'll be talking from this piece, and they'll be talking from other materials. I thought you might be interested in knowing, since the last annual update, 26 buildings or sites have been submitted for 23 attraction projects in Clinton, which includes, by the way, the successful EnviroVision project. Just to give you some overview, the rail park's been submitted 9 times, Evergreen Packaging 8, Thomas and Betts 5, and then some other miscellaneous properties 1 each, so another 4 submissions there. I threw an example there for you to give you a sense of how this works. Project Frisbee contacted us, and it was a direct contact to our office, and they stated what their parameters were, the size of building they were looking for, access to rail or access to highway, ceiling heights, things like that. Based on those parameters, we identify from our database of available properties which properties most closely match their needs, and then we submit all of those properties for their consideration. So in the case of Project Frisbee, Evergreen Packaging Building, Thomas and Betts, and the Stampede Building in Comanche were submitted. I give you this example as a way of explaining that if you add up those submissions that are listed there, they don't necessarily, why were 26 buildings submitted for 23 projects? That's why. You may be interested, maybe more so, in the project statistics on the next page. The total projects worked this year were 36 year-to-date. So we're in July, and we operate on a calendar year basis. So we're halfway through the year. In all of 2015, we worked 38. So we're too shy of our total projects worked for all of last year. So it's a very positive thing. I don't know what's going to happen with the presidential election. Business doesn't know. Often when there's uncertainty in politics, business sits on their capital and they don't make investments. Time will only tell what the end of the year brings us in terms of business projects. 2014, by the way, was 31 projects, so you can see kind of a steady upward tick. Just this year, and by the way, we have projects that carry over from year to year that we work on multiple year basis. Just this year, of those 36, 19 of them are brand new this year, and that's a pretty impressive number given that half of the projects we're working are brand new just this year. To dig just a little bit deeper, I wanted to give you some information by sector. If you parse those down into sector and source, you can see by far our largest sector that we're working is the general manufacturing category. There are, I'm sure, subcategories in there, but we can only go off of what the client tells us. And so generally, the client doesn't give us a sector-specific category. But when they do, the ones that we've seen the most are logistics and food processing and biotech, separated out of manufacturing. And then finally, projects by source there. You can see our Quad Cities First, our regional partner down in Davenport, Rock Island, Bettendorf, and Moline, have really stepped up their effort. They, in fact, have become our largest source of leads in the last year, actually moving ahead of our two state partners, DCEO in Illinois and IEDA in Iowa. Remember, we're a bi-state group. We have 3 communities on the Illinois side, 3 on the Iowa side. And direct contacts is when somebody calls or emails us directly, and that's our 3rd highest category. Just as a quick reminder, yes, sir.
Do we pay to be part of Quad Cities First?
We are not presently, however.
Why not? That's our
ava-
largest source. So.
Availability of funds, and they weren't in the past producing for us. So, there's a couple of board members here. Councilman Detterman, you could probably speak to this issue as well. About 3 years ago, when Janelle and I started as staff, we were not, well, I take that back. We were paying, and then we stopped paying because of some dissatisfaction with Quad City First performance. Today, though you can see they've stepped it up, they've brought on some new quality staff, and we've got a good working relationship with them. And so I'm looking at next year probably re-upping with that investment. The investment for the total county is $10,000 a year. We split that with DeWitt and also with Eastern Iowa Community Colleges. So then, to my knowledge, they are continuing to pay. Eastern Iowa Community Colleges, DeWitt and Clinton are not, just to be clear.
And Mike, why don't you, Rail 1, I think that was at least 3 years, maybe even 4 years. These projects don't happen overnight.
Absolutely true. You're absolutely right. I think from first contact to locate, it was probably about 3.5 years for the Rail 1 project. Yeah. Some happen really quickly. EnviroVision happened really quickly. But Rail 1 took some time. And there is no average. I can't really give you an average. I mean, it just kind of varies project by project. So,
And
yes,
I think,
sir. Oh, sorry.
I think it was before your time, but we had a steel manufacturer. And that was huge, and I think we did get, I don't know if we were number 2 or what, but as far as I know, they never did build.
Yeah, years ago, in a comparably sized community, I had an auto project, and I think that project went for 2 years, and we It didn't even land in the state I was in at the time, you know. But you work these projects as if you're going to land these projects. You can't ever not give them your full attention because you never know which one is going to be the one that lands. So we work them aggressively and do our best to land them. Councilman O'Neill, did you have a question?
Well, no, one question is a comment that, you know, I don't know if there's any correlation in it, but, you know, over the last 18 months or 2 years, we've dissolved our MLS up here and joined the MLS in the Quad Cities, and we've seen a lot more exposure of them bringing people up here to show houses. So it may have some overlapping, it may have just caused some synergy, I don't know, but.
That may well be, I mean, and that could be causing the direct contact.
Yeah.
You'll notice that there are 2 contacts that were in here that were directly from brokers. I flipped my page, but yeah, I believe it's 2. Yeah, blue, the darker blue slice there is broker, and I think it was a total of 2 projects that were sourced from brokers.
Is
I
it the-
think also, I think they look at us more as a friend than potential, foe or something on it. They, they're doing so good that,
Hopefully.
We got the rail.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly right, exactly right. Well, if you, being cognizant of your time, I want to be judicious with your time. If you'll flip the page and take a look at this list here, it starts with the existing industry visitation program. Just as a quick reminder, this was our program of work for 2016. In total, this is an 18-page program of work, so this is quite a summary to distill it down to these items. The existing industry program, Andy's going to talk about that with you, and the recognition program, he's going to talk about that with you, so I'm going to let that one go. I'll come back to target industry here in just a second. Enhanced marketing, I'm going to come back to in a second. Highway 30 advocacy, some of you were with us in Des Moines when we were there for Highway 30 Day. We believe that an important key, one of the highest, most important keys to the future of the region is 4-laning of Highway 30, both in Illinois for that roughly 30-mile stretch to Sterling Rock Falls and across Iowa. Some have said if you take a look at the numbers, the population declines, and you look at where that first started, it has to do with, you can make a direct correlation back to bypassing of the community, Interstate 80, Interstate 88, bending down to the Quad Cities instead of following the traditional Highway 30 route. So we believe that it's critically important to growing our business community, and we will continue to work hard at that and partner with the Highway 30 Advocacy Group. And then enhanced communications. I did send you all an email yesterday. I forwarded you the broker's report. We're doing that on a monthly basis. The broker is providing that to us. So if you haven't seen it, check your email. And in your email inbox should be the report from Charlie of their most recent month's activity. Also would encourage you to go out and visit our Facebook page. The CRDC does have a Facebook page. Janelle just does an amazing job keeping 3, 4, 5 updates a week out there. And there's one I think I noticed came out yesterday or today. And so do visit and friend us. We would appreciate that. Now on to target industry, business case studies, and enhanced marketing. This is really what I wanted to share with you this evening. To me, this is the big thing. This is the future. So we're going to start on this page with all these colored blocks. Our target industry consultants looked at the industries on the left-hand side, and they analyzed our local assets and challenges across the top bar. So you look at industry market size and investment, for instance, or the region's industry presence, linkage, and experience, and then you compare that among metal fabrication, food and beverage processing, and those other sectors. Here's the key to this thing. You do not want to find a line with a bunch of red. If it's a bunch of red, it means we are poorly positioned to work to attract that particular sector. If you see a bunch of green, green is what we're looking for. Those lines that have a lot of green are the sectors that we are best positioned to be successful in recruiting. So they went through the process that a site selector goes through. They looked at all of the attributes of the region, all of the challenges of the region, and on the basis of those strengths that we have and our existing industry concentrations said, these are the sectors that you're best positioned to attract, and that's where you see the green appearing here. So for instance, we would not want to pursue medical devices. We have 3 red blocks there. However, metal fabrication, we're in pretty good shape with food and beverage processing and so on. So if you flip the page, I realize I'm going fast. I'll be happy to talk with any of you in more detail about this. This total report is about 1.25 inches thick. Julie's seen it. This pyramid is the main thing I want to talk with you about. At the top, this is actually a 3-level pyramid. I've taken off the bottom level for you for tonight. The top piece of the pyramid, that green triangle, those are the sectors that we are best positioned to compete for. And so we're talking about chemicals processing, metal fabrication, value-added agriculture, and that includes food and beverage processing. And then we did dip down into the yellow section for administrative back office because the Lions Business and Tech Park, that's a key for the Lions Business and Tech Park. So the next step, what we've been pursuing for the last couple of months, is a business case scenario in each of those targeted sectors. With one exception, we just applied to the CCDA for some funding to help us complete the value-added ag piece. We have fully funded chemicals processing and metal fab, and the Tech Park Board has funded the administrative back office study. All of these studies, this is essentially what the consultants have done for us. They have taken a sample project, an actual site selection project in each sector, and they have applied the parameters. So proximity to highway, workforce needs, workforce pay rates, business taxation rates, et cetera. They've applied those parameters to the Clinton region and competing locations in roughly a 6-state region around Clinton to see how competitive we are from a cost basis. Because at the end of the day, there are really two things that a company wants to do. They want to minimize risk and they want to maximize return on investment. So this gets to maximize return on investment. You may be interested to know we have completed the chemicals processing, we've completed metal fab, and administrative back office is close to a draft now. And some emerging conclusions, I think, are in order. First of all, let me tell you that if we compete effectively in these cost categories, it's like a built-in incentive. So think about this for a second. You know, just like with a resident, if a community has lower taxation, then that may be a factor in them deciding where they want to live. So as we looked at particularly chemicals processing and metal fabrication, I was just talking with the Clinton County Farm Bureau last night on this subject. In first year in one of these sectors, the savings range between $400,000 to $700,000 a year for choosing the Clinton location over other locations. We were not the lowest cost in any of the categories in these studies, but we were the overall lowest cost for all of the costs. When you sum the total cost, we were the lowest cost location. So as I said, one of them is $400,000 to $700,000 savings a year. The other sector was $170,000 to $4 million in first year savings by choosing a Clinton region location over the competing locations. So what this leads us to next year, and by the way, those sectors are broken out for you on the next page a little bit more. So what that leads us to is where we're headed next year. And I'm going to close with this and turn it over to Andy. What we're doing now in the fourth quarter, we'll be putting together marketing materials with this data. And then next year, we will begin an aggressive marketing campaign in these sectors, potentially also to these locations that were comparison locations, hopefully meeting with specific companies in those communities to talk with them about the business proposition and the cost savings associated with a location here in Clinton, in the Clinton region, as opposed to where they are presently or other sites they may be considering. So we're excited about that. Let me let Andy chat with you and Janelle chat with you, and if you have other comments or questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right. Let's chat. 80% of our economic growth moving forward is not going to come from business attraction. It's going to come from our business retention and expansion projects. That means the businesses that we have right here in our region. January 4th, I was hired to come on and develop relationships with these businesses, plant managers, CEOs, human resource directors. I've been successfully doing that since that date. We wanted to put a brand behind my efforts. And we were trying to think of an acronym. What do we do? What do we do as an organization? What do we do as a community for an existing business? We add value, right? That's why we exist. So we took that word value and we created an acronym behind it. And everybody should have this, I think, in your handouts. So I'll ask you to turn right now so you can follow along with me. V, visitation. This is the cornerstone of our business retention and expansion program. How many of you go to the doctor? Everybody, right? What if you went to your doctor and he had no idea what your medical history was? It'd be an awkward visit. It'd be a lot of question and answer, a lot of ignorant questions. This visitation process, allows me to get in there, speak with the businesses, and they can share their successes, their concerns, and their complaints with me, and then I can take that information back and share it with the rest of my office and with the investors in the CRDC and the public. A is to acknowledge. How many business owners run around and pound on their own chest and acknowledge their successes? Very few. They don't have time to do it, but we all like to be lauded for our efforts. So the A in value is really to acknowledge that. We do that in a few ways. One is the new industry recognition program that we're launching. So coming up here in the next couple of weeks, we'll be announcing our first quarterly award winner, the Cornerstone Award. This award is going to go to a community member, a business within our region that does amazing things for both our residents as well as giving back to the community and their longevity within the community. So that's going to be coming out. Huge PR for that business, and it's a great opportunity for us to kind of laud our own successes as a community. L is listen. We stand up here and we have this conversation. One of the key factors in open communication is listening. If I went into a company and all I did was start jaw-jacking about all the great things we can do, and I never took the time to sit there, kind of shut my mouth and hear all the great things that they do for us, it would be ineffective. So listening. U is to utilize this information. If I took all this information, went back to my office and did nothing with it, if I walked in and said, hey, company A has a problem, hope they can figure it out, and sat down back at my desk and opened up Facebook, we wouldn't do anything. So I got to use that information. So we use that actually with a survey that we do called Synchronist. And in my mind, Synchronist sounds like as much fun as a colonoscopy. So we turned it into Value Visit. I saw some faces in there that kind of cringe when I say colonoscopy. So Synchronist kind of lends its hands with that. So the Value Visit is going in there and asking 7 pages of questions. Plant managers are giving me their time and allowing me to ask them 7 pages of questions. These are very detailed questions that let me know how they're doing financially, the well-being, and their opinion of the community as a whole. I've been finding out some great things, some positive things, not all negative. So this effort really holds hands very nicely with our Celebrate Clinton initiative moving forward that you all voted on tonight. So I can go back to these companies, I can go back to these plant managers, these CEOs, and I can tell them about the things that you're doing in the city of Clinton in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce to help raise our level of awareness of the good things that are happening in the community. And E is to engage. Our plant managers don't have the time to show up to every Kiwanis meeting. They don't have the time to show up to every Rotary meeting. They don't know what's going on in the downtown Clinton Alliance. They don't know what kind of modifications are being done at Eagle Point Park. They don't have the time. But what I do is I act as a conduit, and I take that information to them. So when they have somebody come in from out of town and starts working here and says, hey, boss, I really just want to know what can I do fun with my family around the Clinton area, that plant manager is going to say, you know what, I sat down with Andy the other day, and Andy told me all about this new thing they're doing up at Eagle Point Park. You should think about looking into that. It's an amazing project. Boom. Again, it's sharing information. It's building those bridges. These conversations have to happen. A lot of times when a business picks up and leaves and walks away, there's corporate decisions, there's financial decisions, there's outlook. Politics are involved. We may not have control over that. But a business will probably make the decision a little bit harder for them to pick up and leave if they have a close relationship with the community in which they serve. That's what I'm doing. I'm building those relationships one business at a time. And I'm pretty excited about my efforts. Does anybody have any questions for me? Not one single question. Councilman
Somebody
O'Neill?
asked this man a question.
Yes.
How do you relate if they have some kind of problem, especially with the city, to get that problem solved for them?
Well, with the city, I would bring it in, let Mike know, and then he would facilitate that conversation, I'm sure. Here's a good example of something that we've been able to do recently. One of the clients that we went actually out and met with had a concern about a utility. He said, I've been trying to get a hold of somebody for 2 weeks. I just emails back and forth, it's just not working. Every major utility provider has an economic development leg. Your Alliance, your Mid-Americans. So we were able just to pick up the phone, call that individual from this particular utility. Within 48 hours, that problem was solved. So here's an issue that somebody was pulling their hair out off of for the last 2 weeks. And in 48 hours, we were able to solve that problem for them because we were building positive relationships. It's that simple. There's no special algorithm to how to keep business here. You keep them here by supporting them, opening up those lines of communication, and having good conversations, the getting to yes types of conversations, right? Win-win. Anything else?
Andy, how many places have you visited since you started, or in the last, I guess, since the first of the year?
We're sitting right around 20.
20?
So that's engagements both introductory. I mean, a large part of my action moving forward when I first started was just going out and extending my arm and getting a handshake. I couldn't show up to the door with a 7-page survey and say, hey, I'm Andy, nice to meet you. Do you have an hour and a half that I can take? So I had to go out there, shake their hands, and say, what do you do? One of the coolest things about my job is I get to go into these plants. I'm sure a lot of us, and everybody sitting in the audience and those at home, can drive by these plants every single day and probably have no idea what they do. That's fine. But we should, right? So that's what's exciting about my position. I get to go in there and see what they do. I get to go in there and see how many Triscuit boxes are being pumped through West Rock's printers. I get to go in and see how many cool things are being created over in Phoenix Manufacturing, over in the Fulton side. I get to go into Fulton Corp. I get to go into Nestle Purina and smell the Beggin' strips, right? That place is so clean, I think my dog eats better than I do. So it's interesting and it's neat. And those are the types of stories that we want to share. We want to share those with the community. So when people say, where are you from? They say, Clinton, Iowa. Do you know that's home to West Rock? Do you know that's home to Nestle Purina? Do you know we have ADM? I took Councilman Connell and Supervisor Serp on a tour at ADM last Friday. What did you think of that tour?
It was awesome.
Right?
And I work in the plant. I mean, we've worked in the plant, and I haven't seen some of that before. And that's why I highly recommended it when, to everybody else. It was a really good tour.
And that visit was a direct result of the fact that I met with their plant manager, and he said, bring some of these elected officials into our plant so we can show them the things that we're doing. We drive by it. You see the smokestacks. You drive by, you look to your right. You're going out of town, you look to your left. But do you know what they do in there? Do you know how complicated of a process is? Do you know the 700 people they employ and the 300 subcontractors come in there every single day? It's like a beehive. And they're effective. They're the most effective ADM plant in existence. Why? Because they're insanely versatile. That's cool. They're right here. So these are the stories that I get to share on a daily basis. And I urge you to shoot me an email, ask me these questions. If you hear something through the rumor mill, contact me and let me know, or at least give me an opportunity to go out there and do my job and do a little fact finding.
Andy, do you have businesses that just don't acknowledge or don't want anything to do with your survey?
Absolutely. Yep. And you will have that. It's kind of like the whole lead a horse to water thing, right?
Yep.
I can tell them how great this program is and how much I want their support in it, and they're going to tell me to go pack sand. That's fine. But it is great, and it is working. We've only been doing it for a short amount of time, and I've already been able to. The other day, a plant manager called me on my cell phone to give me some big news about his plant. Okay. On my cell phone. Not via email, not via the front page of the Clinton Herald. I found it out first on my cell phone. That's cool. What else? That's it? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, last part, I promise.
Let's
Janelle
keep the tempo
Crowley.
up.
I know. Well, I don't think that's okay. So
Remember,
I just have.
you're the finisher now.
I know. We're ending on good news. Ready? Okay. Site certification update is so exciting. We are nearing the end of the process. As you know, step 3 of the step 3 process was submitted on March 29th, 2016. And then the consultants had time to look at it. We received feedback on that May 20th of this year with some outstanding items. Some things that we knew were coming, the archaeological study that we talked about within the last couple of months that we needed a little more in detail. That has been completed and it has been submitted. Telecommunications has kind of been the thorn in the side of this project, but we are working on that as well. There are also some smaller things related to utilities and mapping and things like that. So we are working through that process. Materials for this next bundle of information is due August 23rd back to the consultants. There'll be some back and forth for a couple months. They'll probably send us a few things that we still need changed in about a month after the deadline. So not quite complete, but once those back and forths are done, we anticipate the final decision to be made around the November-ish timeline. So we'll obviously keep you informed as that keeps moving forward, but it is nearing an end, and no one is more excited than me. So just wanted to let you guys know where we are in that process. So, and I think at this point we're going to open up to any general questions about CRDC or anything we've talked about tonight.
Councilmember Connell?
So could we expect potential certification wrapping up before the end of the year, do you think? Before the
That
next round, or when?
From what I've heard from the state is they do anticipate November to be when this round would wrap up, yes. So if we are successful, which I anticipate that we will be, that it would be before the end of the year.
Mike, don't be a stranger. Come back as often as you want. We're Glad to have you and glad to hear what's going on.
Well, I appreciate that, Councilman Detterman. Let me just close our comments by saying you probably, get a sense of what it might maybe be like to work in the office with these two. Councilman O'Neill knows that our walls don't go all the way up to the ceiling, so what I've heard about is paper airplanes flying across the wall between the two desks. We have fun, we work hard, but we have fun in the office as well. I wanted to take just a minute and emphasize how much we value our partnership with the City of Clinton. There's no way that we could do what we do but for the generous support from the city in form of your investment. But in addition to that, the partnership that we have with city staff, with elected officials, it truly is a blessing for us to be able to have good, strong working relationships with our city officials and our elected officials, because at the end of the day, we can't move forward as a community, we can't move forward as a region without that partnership. So I just want to take an opportunity to say thank you.
Councilmember Allison?
Well, I would like to comment on the Prager study that you did, and out of that study came the consensus about building Celebrate Clinton. And it was important to the people that looked at this study that our attitude and our well-being as a community improve. And as it did, so would our relationships in getting companies to come here. So thank you for that. Thank you for involving me when that was something that came up.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that.
There was a lot of buzz with Germany, and I know with the big annual meeting, I think we were hosting over there in the conference with Iowa Economic Development, I think, and I was just maybe thought we'd hear an update on that too.
Sure. Well, let me give you an update on two things then. Before I was in Germany, I was in San Francisco with Governor Branstad, and that was a reception associated with the bio conference. It's the biotechnology conference that happens each year. It's a huge conference. I did not go to the conference. I strictly went out to be at the event with the governor, and we were meeting with the reception involved alums of Iowa universities and also prospective companies and site selectors. I'm pleased to say that coming out of that meeting, we have one very strong prospect in the biotech space, and we have another potential prospect in the biotech space. In the case of Germany, when you're marketing internationally, it is a multi-year process. You have to develop credibility with them. You have to, often what happens with international locations, and by the way, in November I was in Hanover at the Agritechnica conference, and we did get a lead out of that one as well. It's initially when they're looking to come into the U.S. market, they're not necessarily looking to put a facility in the U.S. What they're looking to do is sell their products in the U.S., usually through like a 3PL agreement, a third-party licensing agreement, or then maybe a third-party manufacturing agreement. Then maybe they open a sales office. Then maybe they open a production facility. But it's about becoming the expert on the U.S. that they know, that you've developed a relationship with them. This was an important trip because what it did for us is we co-sponsor, we were the premier sponsor of the event in partnership with the state of Iowa. We split that partnership cost, and then we had time on the agenda to welcome all of the attendees. In the room, there were about 300 representatives of German companies considering a location in the U.S. It's worth noting that the conference is conducted entirely in German. The speakers speak in German and the audience hears German, right? I mean, it's 100% German. And so while my German was maybe 30 years ago, I pick up on a fair amount of it listening. My speaking isn't quite as good, so I spoke from prepared remarks. But it was really interesting when you speak somebody's language in their country. What it does is it generates interest, and so we had countless number of people come by our booth and thank us for. In fact, my second sentence of my remarks were interrupted by applause from the room for speaking German. So that was really gratifying. I've had 2 contacts from companies since that time that have expressed interest in working with us. I don't know if they're going to turn into prospects or not. But again, this is an evolution. I don't see us doing this kind of an event, this expensive an event, every year. What I see now is we're a known quantity, and so we want to have a presence. We want to also continue to work the U.S. side of that relationship because the German-American Chamber of Commerce is just a couple hours away in Chicago. So we want to have a presence at their events as well. They've told me they often get leads, and so what we want to be close to them so that we're the first ones they think of when they get a lead. And maybe 3 weeks before I was in San Francisco, I was in Chicago meeting with I think a half a dozen international consulates in Chicago, one of which was the German consulate, and also meeting with the German American Chamber of Commerce on top of that, for the very same reason, to establish those relationships so that they have a point of contact in the U.S. when they have a client who's looking to locate in the U.S. So again, long-term, broader strategy than as rifled as what we're talking about with the Prager study. So, sorry for the long answer. With regards to the Prager study, any of you that would like to talk about it, I'd be happy to talk with you about it. It's just a ton of information, and it just really doesn't lend itself to a meeting like tonight, although I'd be happy to come back at some time if you'd like and give you an overview of some of the significant findings. Just let me know. Yes,
Is
sir.
there any highlights of something that maybe we could do, change?
Yeah,
help?
I think so in there. Let me, off the top of my head, I can't cite you those. I can cite you a piece of interesting information for what it's worth. Generally speaking, when these consultants go into a community, what they find is if you look at the skilled versus unskilled population of labor in a community or in a region, often you've got unskilled much higher than skilled. A big pool of unskilled, not so big a pool of skilled. In our region, it's exactly the opposite. We have a big pool of skilled and a smaller pool of unskilled. And what they said was, as they looked at the data, they were scratching their heads about it a little bit because it's an anomaly. They don't see that very often around the country. In fact, I think they may have said it was the first time they saw that. What they said was, we have such a long history of manufacturing that it has resulted in a very highly skilled workforce. Now, that being said though, that kind of stops at age 35. It's 35 and up. One of the things we need to work on, one of the things that Andy's going to be working on is workforce issues. And we need to better connect maybe our educational system with the needs of manufacturers. And so Andy's in meeting with the companies, finding out their workforce-related issues. Now we need to communicate that back to our educational institutions and make sure that they're producing the product that we need as an input in the companies, particularly as the baby boom retires, so that we build up the skill set on that in that 18 to 35 range. So, but that I would say that is a red flag for us. But again, the skills that were identified in that unusual flip of the ratio was very impressive.
Any other questions or comments before I make mine? Okay, now that they're done, I'll make my comment. Last night, Mike and I and Rich and Ron, we went out to visit Farm Bureau, and he made a presentation to them. You know, Farm Bureau has always been a little standoffish with Clinton itself, but I think that we've worked very well at building a relationship there. I think it's very important that Clinton, that was one of the things when I campaigned, that Clinton is not an island, we're a region, a county, and we're going to work together. And I think that Mike and Janelle and Andy have done a very good job of starting to bring the pieces together. It's going to take time. You know, things don't change overnight, but I'm really glad to see that they're starting to realize that the businesses that we have in town are the important businesses that we got to keep them. We don't want them leaving. We'd like them to expand. If they're thinking of any type of improvement, do it in Clinton. You know, that's something that's very important. Naturally, we always want to have new business, but we do not want to lose the old ones. But I've given Mike a challenge that I said there's something that I want done. You know, we've been an all-star city for the League of Cities. We've been Rivertown of the Year, and you know where I'm going, don't you?
Go right ahead.
And when we were out at the SMART conference, sitting there looking at the awards for synchronous visits and business retention, that colonoscopy type word, I said to him, Mike, I want to be on that stage, and I want Clinton to be winning that business retention award. So that's one of the challenges that in my term, I've still got 3.5 years left. I want to be on that stage with the city of Clinton and winning that award.
Well, and with our industry concentration, we have every right to be. And, you know, so we're excited about the existing industry program that Andy's working on, the value program. And I think there's every right to expect to be there.
So he has a goal that he has to achieve for me. So we'll see how he does. I have a lot of confidence in him because I've seen a lot of change in the last 6 months. There's a different energy, and I think even within the community, things are starting to turn around.
Well, thank you. Your remarks are very gracious, Mayor. Appreciate, again, the partnership with the city. You know, cities that don't have this kind of partnership, they just don't move forward. So that, you know, we're we're very fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. Thank you, Andy.
Yes, thank you. Now, don't leave. Stay and watch the rest of the show.
Dennis knows he's next up. We're going to talk about the trolley ADA ramp replacement. Dennis?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dennis Hart, Transportation Director. To bring you up to date on the current status of the trolley, besides the memo you got in front of you, I had Councilman Seeley and Councilman O'Connell came down yesterday to take a look to see what we're talking about. With their help, I've got a little more information for tonight. We possibly have maybe some parts available. One of the vendors that has worked for Councilman Connell's business actually came down today, visit. He said, I can build stuff for this, bushings, pins, stuff like that. So basically that 28,000, if we rebuild it, if that's the choosing, we should be able to, bring that down at a more reasonable cost. The Rycon Lift company themselves actually, with the email sent from Councilman Seeley, actually provided us with a parts manual and says some of them parts are available, maybe not all of them. We'll have to see where the parts list goes. With that, I thought we could put another bus out available. If we got the trolley going, and basically have another bus for backup to run en route. Basically, we cannot put that trolley out knowing that the lift does not work. So basically, if it goes out en route and it fails, we have 5 days to, it actually could run 5 days before it has to be removed from the route and repaired. So that's out of the, to put a backup bus, that's out of the question. So I also, for another backup, because I've told you before, we were thinking about July 1st, trying to get the trolley or that route going. And since we're behind that, that's why we came to you, to make sure you guys were informed and know, basically what we're dealing with on this. The biggest issue now is the lift, getting that repaired. But also, we talked back, if the trolley does not run, that we would have to put another bus on that route. So today I called a local vendor about putting a wrap on the bus. So you can have that food for thought. Roughly about $12,000 to make one of my newer buses, wrapped to, basically the appearance on the outside would look like a trolley. So, that's food for thought for that. That's where we're at this point.
I was just going to add in, that we're after today's visits, we're hopeful that there can be some temporary or some parts manufactured that will hopefully get this up and running. But I think the bigger thing is that there's probably a new lift that needs to be purchased at some time. We have not done our borrowing yet or finalized that list for our upcoming bond, and so that's where I recommend that we would include it on there, because if the plan is to get this operational in May of next year as well, we're going to be, there's time where we can do something over the winter months to make something happen. So I'd recommend that we include that amount of up to $28,000 in that upcoming borrowing. And if we borrow it and don't need it, we can always put it as a payment on the debt service or do something else with it. But there's a short window of opportunity for that to happen coming up here. And so that's what I didn't want to miss out on by having this on the agenda tonight.
Is there funds in transit just to pay for a lift?
Well, and let me go back to why I'm recommending we would choose to borrow it. If you'll recall, we did not levy as many dollars for transit as we normally would because there was fund balance there. And so we are already using a significant portion of fund balance in fiscal year 17 for the operations of the transit department. And so that's where this is a 28,000. It's small compared to the total departmental budget, but it's still something that is going to continue to erode at that fund balance. So yes, there would be fund balance that would be there, but I don't know that that's the wisest thing to do or most financially astute thing to do in a year where you're already planning to eat that down by, I think, half of what it was.
How much was gonna be left at the end of this year? 500 something? Yeah, I think.
I have no
I don't
idea.
think it was quite that much. I think we were 200 to 300,000 maybe.
300 and some. I don't think it was
No,
five.
that's what we were gonna levy, and then there was still
Yeah.
gonna be surplus funds at the end of this year. I believe Anita, 5 something?
Yeah, I think we were cutting it about in half.
Yeah. So, for what this is gonna get used, if the parts are available, which it sounds like there's a good possibility, this lift, it's not rocket science, it's a very simple lift. It goes in and out, it's got some simple mechanical parts that do their job, they get worn out, but replacing those parts, it will function just as it's supposed to be. And the trolley's being put out on a trial basis to see what kind of asset it is to the community. I think we need to determine the cost of repairing this lift through ordering parts, and in fact, if we could get a parts list together, Dennis, the other certified dealer I was speaking with said, he can tell us exactly what he can get us and the
That was
cost.
wasn't that the manufacturer? Or
No, I talked to a dealer and a manufacturer. Yeah.
okay.
That the part list come from the manufacturer, and the dealer responded to me as well.
Okay.
And he said, "Let me know what parts you need, and I'll look them up and see." So if we can figure out exactly what the cost is, and then we can go from there, figure out a timeline for this, and we might be able to get it in service a little bit at the end of the year. If not, we can have it ready to go for next year. But I think planning to borrow for something we already have funds for and something we hopefully don't need to borrow, I'm not gonna agree with that. So, in reference to the wraps, I think that might be something worth looking at for maybe a bus you purchase. Don't they get wrapped? Some of them?
We have one bus that's wrapped right now.
Oh, that's just the
an
first-
advertisement that
That's
yes,
for advertisement.
yes.
Okay, so.
This would be
scratch that.
purposely
I thought
wrapped
they-
to
Okay.
appearance of a trolley
Okay.
replica.
What do wraps cost?
I think roughly $12,000 is what I was told today.
Dennis, was our plan to run this bus one day a week
Yes.
for, what was it, 12 or 15?
13 weeks or
So,
what? I'm
so
not
at $28,000.
from Memorial
we're
to
paying
Labor Day.
We're paying $2,000 a week to recover our $28,000 to run the bus one day a week.
for 1 year.
Well, but that's.
I mean, if this is going to be a
for one
multi-year,
season.
if we're going to keep this project up and running, basically that's
But the starting it
the
out.
starting, yes, to get back to where it's a reliable lift.
And I think we can easily get it to a reliable point, especially for what it's going to be used. It won't be used every day, picking up 10 times a day type deal,
Right.
all week long. Fortunately, the other important factor here is we're trying to put this back into the community, trying to put it in rotation. We don't know how much it will be used and if it's going to be a true asset. So to spend that kind of money and borrow for it, I think would be a bad decision.
But didn't you just say it wasn't going to cost a full
Right now,
28?
with the contacts we made, that the councilman's made, it appears that we can rebuild it.
Yeah, we can repair it for much, much less than replacing it.
We don't have that dollar amount.
But we have,
that's
yeah, we
what
do not have that
Not
dollar amount.
28.
No.
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 I don't believe so.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Honor. Is it a correct statement if we put this back out for bid, this lift would not be a concern of someone that was a private owner of it?
Privates are not required to have it usable.
Okay, so it could still go out for bid and still get that $40,000 range, possibly?
Possibly.
We had a bid, it was 5.
Well, yeah, because you limit it, if we don't limit it, let's not be semantic about it.
A lot of
If
them
we
don't-
put it out on bid like it's out on the, now, they do bring 40,000 if we don't have all the restrictions that we had on it.
Well,
Possibility.
There a lot are listed in the 30s.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, well,
I know it's going to bring 5,000.
Yeah.
maybe it won't hit 40, but it's more than
It had to be
5.
here, and we had, but if we just put it on the open market, we could expect to bid somewhere between 32 and 40.
Well, I think
I would hope so.
That might be a little high because we don't know the ones that you're quoting that were 35, whether they had a lift that actually worked.
But the lift wouldn't make any difference.
Most of them
That's what I wanted to
are not
clarify.
lift equipped.
Most of them aren't.
Most of them are not lift
But the
equipped.
lift wouldn't be a requirement, it would have to
The
work.
private sector
If they
would not
private
spend
sector,
28,000 to replace that lift for, they're probably doing special events or something. They're not running on a route for the general public to be able to have access. Basically,
Thank
it's an accessible vehicle with the lift working.
Well, I don't know why we just aren't finding out what the cost is to repair it. And if you
It
spend
was
a
all
couple,
just figured out yesterday.
if you spend a
so-
couple $1,000s and it runs for this season, next year we reevaluate it. And
Yeah.
I think that's where we are today, that was a lot of work that happened today, but I didn't want you to, I didn't want us to pursue this without you also considering that there is a very finite window. May of next year is still in this current fiscal year. And so if we're talking about something comes up where we can get it through this year, something doesn't work next year, we could still be before you in this fiscal year. That's where I just wanted you to consider that if it's something you want to do, we could certainly put that amount into the upcoming borrowing. But if it's not something you want to do, we'll continue on the path that Dennis is on today.
well, to me, if it's gonna cost 28,000 and be nickel and diming us like that, then it needs to go away.
Yeah.
When we originally thought about the idea of trying to keep it, we didn't think we had a major expense in keeping it.
I was not expecting the lift to be in the
It was
shape it was.
Just the air conditioner is what we knew that was
I
broken.
knew that,
brake
I knew
line,
that
right?
was the issue.
Yeah, we were told it was in pretty good shape, ready to go.
It looks good.
And
It
then I
looks
read
good.
the paper and said the biggest problem with it is that it's old.
I think it
just
looks really good,
baffles
but,
me.
it's like a car. There's some cars that if it's gonna nickel and dime us and cost us too much, it's not worth putting money into. But we aren't going to use it that much, so I think it's realistic to find out how much it's gonna cost to repair it.
Well, and I think that's why we kind of lately stepped in and we thought, hey, is there any local vendors that we can, there's machine shops, we just heard a report, we've got talent,
Yeah.
very talented pool of individuals in this community and businesses. Can we leverage some of that to try to get it fixed?
Well, I think it's a very
Plus
realistic way of doing it.
yeah, and plus the vendors that are out there that have some of the parts, can we utilize that and actually have it operable versus spending $28,000? That,
Yes.
the public, do they really want to spend $28,000 on it just to ride it for 10 to 12 weekends a year?
You might hear an outcry about
Exactly.
28,000.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have a couple other comments. The sponsorships of it, I've had people or companies expressing that they're interested in helping sponsor, which would help cover running this thing, but I have nothing to give them. So
But we
I-
haven't got a bus that works
no,
either.
well, step one, I think, is we need to figure out what it's gonna cost to fix the ADA ramp, but step two, I'd like to see staff and other people in conjunction with this, as long as everything's gonna go forward, we need to come up with a plan. We can actually get most of this funded where it's not gonna cost us a dime to run. And I would rather see that, but I need to be able to do that, and we have no documents set yet to this point yet.
And just, there is a company that we
We're
utilize
contracted
for any
for
of the
advertising.
advertising
No,
on
this is gonna
on the
be
buses.
sponsorships, not advertising, so
Okay,
it's gonna be a little different.
And that's where I think we need to see what our current contract with them covers to make sure that we weren't doing something
Yeah.
that was outside of our scope, or that was outside of the scope with the contract with the current vendor.
Okay.
So,
So we'll-
but that's something that Dennis can certainly work on
I
here.
can check into that, yes.
Okay.
Jessica, in that case, it's not ads on the bus.
No,
It's
it's
sponsorship he's
sponsorships,
talking about.
Right, but there's still, I think there's some areas inside that
Inside
you
the
could
bus,
do
there's
the,
there's
that would
advertising
be
racking.
But those are
sellable.
gonna be your sponsored by stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
because I wouldn't want to put it on the outside of the bus.
But I need to know the process for it, how many sponsors we can have, that kind of stuff. And maybe you and I can sit down, if you're gonna be the one working on it. I was under the impression it wasn't you, so.
Well, I know Carrie had started on it down there. She's got some
Okay.
already, kind of like you, people that are interested.
Okay, so maybe 3 or 4 of us, or all of us for that matter, I don't care. If we can get funding to run this, and the nice part about sponsors, or from what I understand of the sponsors that are interested, is they're going to also advertise for this, so they'll help get the word out when it's available to use. So.
And I think just to build on that, the whole thing is if anybody's interested in sponsoring, they can contact us. There isn't necessarily a program that's set up. We don't have the route advertised or anything, so there's easy ways to throw people in on that as a sponsor. It's not as though we're gonna be putting anything on the outside of the trolley, so I think that's keeping it clean. So sponsorship would be, in my mind, anybody who's going to provide us money to run this route would be recognized in some sort of way. So I don't know how much of a formal program we need, but again, I do want to review that contract that we have for our other advertisement to make sure that there's not any conflict there, and how we would do that.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be
so,
good.
but if they're, to put it out there to the public and for you, if any contacts you have, they can certainly contact myself or Dennis directly, and, we'll make sure that, that they're noted as a sponsor if they're going to provide some money for the operation of the trolley.
Perfect. I think we'll need to still determine sponsorship levels and stuff like that. And we'll look into this.
Okay, so do we need any formal action, or is the staff just going to go get a price?
If you do not want to do anything with the borrowing and moving it forward, then there would be no action to be taken at this point.
I'm not sure I heard any real interest in wanting to borrow money to fix the bus. Did I? Okay.
Not over
Nope.
here.
I hear the rumblings that they would like to have the ramp repaired with parts and see where it goes.
The rumblings, huh?
The rumblings.
I think we're on that step further, though. Just with some of the meetings you had today.
I'm
and-
confident we'll be able to get it repaired. I am. So. And I know you are as well, and you're excited about it. So.
Excited. One more round?
We're buying 2 more trolleys next year, right?
Dennis, ask Andy to give a shout out to show the
Oh, yeah.
excitement.
I even think he said he wanted to buy 2 more trolleys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay. Now we'll get down to the real nitty gritty stuff here. Amendments to Chapter 52, the Sewer Use Ordinance. Bob Milroy and Jason Kraft.
Bob Milroy, Water Quality Superintendent. I'm back.
I thought Jason was going to be there.
Well, I'm up to speed.
Okay.
So, Jessica wrote the memo, like all you have in your packet. And what staff is recommending to start out with is, the big question about 2 acres versus 3 acres. We want to leave it just as is, 2 acres. Now, the state code that we've been talking about, as far as how far away from a city sewer line, is 200 yards.
200 feet.
Or 200 feet, I'm sorry. What we're recommending is 300 feet. Now, I know there's a lot of concern about that being stricter, but there's some, we are also proposing an incentive to where from the 200 to the 300, or 200 feet or above, if they still want to connect, the city would cover that cost.
At 200 above,
So why not just say,
Anything above 200 feet,
we
So-
cover the cost.
yes.
So why would we require them if they want to do it?
I guess I'm not sure of your question.
Why would we put 300 down if we're going to pay for 100 foot? Why wouldn't we just
Since
do 200?
that is just, it's an option we're putting out to the council.
what?
Because that, it is over the state code requirement.
I think that's where, to jump in here, so we are proposing that is something that is beyond 200 feet, which, to go back to it all, if it stays at 200 feet, it's fine. I still think there's reasons to have people connect, and there's reasons for the city to incentivize that, because we have spent $46 million on a brand-new wastewater treatment plant that was an investment in the community, has the capacity, and ultimately, the rates that are paid pay for the debt service of that. So the more people that we can have on the system, the better it is in terms of our operational revenues for the system as well.
But
So,
wait a minute. There's an argument, though, to be made in reverse of that. Some people that are on septic because the city did not have a sewer available for them when they had to go and invest in a
Yep.
septic system. So, but now
Yeah.
you want to force them over to
Well-
the city, because you want to pay for your
And
infrastructure.
I think there's some understanding here. No one's saying that right now everybody who's within 200 feet has to, connect to our sewer. That all of this is based upon when a septic system fails and that someone would be required to get a permit from the county sanitarian for replacement. That's when the requirement to connect would kick in. So we're not talking about forcing anything at this point. And I agree, there are a number of areas where we haven't always had infrastructure available, where we do now. And at the time, we didn't have a treatment plant that had the capacity. And so looking at this from our business perspective, as this is our utility that we're operating, it is business sense for us as a business and as an entity running this proprietary fund that we need more people to connect in order to do that. And we have those that would be eligible or required to under state code currently. If our ordinance stays at 200 and doesn't say 300, I think we're all perfectly fine with that. But it was Councilmember Detterman who actually said that he wanted to consider how we could incentivize, and I think that is a way to incentivize that anybody over 200 feet that's not required, that we would participate in the cost above 200 feet in order to help make
What's your
that
dollar
requirement.
cap?
I think
Well,
that's the key.
and that's to be determined. I mean, so that would not be part of the ordinance, and I don't think we're talking about an incentive program being part of the ordinance. That would be a program adopted under a separate resolution. So that's discussion to still have where you'd be writing the rules and things, but it's really 200 or 300, however you want to state it, is where we're happy going forward, because we really think that the incentive program is one that could assist some people in connecting that might not otherwise.
Well, and I think if you extend that, then you might make it closer to the next guy, they add on to it too, down the line.
Well, I still go back to people that have bought in areas where there is no sewer, you put it in, and now you're making them make a double investment. That's not necessarily fair.
And I
And,
don't think we are.
well, in some cases, you could be.
You're not.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Councilmember
He's had his
Rodriguez.
hand up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think the mayor might have a good point here, and if we're gonna incentivize to go from 200 to 300, and we have a cap on it, let's say it's $500, I think someone who has a septic that's invested in it, and that septic needs a new permit, that we give them the same incentivization cap that we give the extra 100 feet. So in other words, if you're gonna incentivize that by $500 or $600 to go that extra 100 feet to hook on, someone who's invested in a septic, we incentivize them to not renew the septic or get the permit, or when they do, we give them the same allowance to connect to that sewer. I think that,
What was the cost per foot approximately?
10.
We
10
figure
bucks?
approximately, Jason and I talked 10 to 20.
10
Yeah,
to
so-
20.
so
Yeah,
100
it
feet
depends
would
on
be
the
a-
soil
talking
conditions and
$2,000
everything.
to go that extra 100 foot, and that's in a good scenario.
That's in an ideal
Yeah,
scenario.
and that's where we were looking at, that extra 100 feet would probably be $2,000, yeah, so, but again, that's where, for the sake of, ease in discussion here, an incentive program is something that would be a completely different conversation because it wouldn't be adopted under the ordinance. And so really, it's, if you wanna list 200 feet or you wanna list 300 feet, the incentive piece can be discussed later and details of a program, put together to be considered under resolution.
I think we just should.
so
go
your
with
recommendation is 300 feet?
The staff is recommending 300 feet, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I'm always worried when we start making more rigid rules than what all the state has, then we're not necessarily on the same page with the rest of the state. We need to encourage people to be here instead of driving away with new fees, but this seems to be our trend here.
I think the nice part about 200 is if you're within 300 and you want to hook up to our system, you have the option and possibly an incentive. Otherwise, if you're beyond the 200 feet and you do not wish to, I can think of instances, and I'm just looking at this map here, there's some large acreages out on 18th Street, especially by the 2nd Avenue area, where they've got 10 acres of land there. Absolutely no need to be on city sewer, and may not have a desire ever, and I'm not sure I want to force them just because they're at 275 foot. I think there's a kind of a situations where people will
Again, we're
want to
not
utilize it.
forcing people unless they apply to,
No, you're forcing them that if they have a septic go bad and.
No,
they're
I
within
mean if
3
it went bad.
you're
But under
forcing
all
them.
code requirements, they could replace that septic.
Yeah.
It would be the city code that's overriding them being allowed to do that. But if they are within 200 feet and,
I was gonna say, I know of no
That makes sense.
septic tank replacement that's done for a few $1,000s.
No, I don't.
no, who said a few $1,000s?
Well, I mean, we're talking
What
extending
we're
the
saying is
line.
the hook ought to be
Yeah.
$2,000 and the septic could be $5.
Yeah. Well, you have to look at the life and the cost of having the system
Yeah.
versus being on the city sewer.
I mean, I think that's where an incentive program, we should work to incentivize them to make it cheaper to hook up to
There
the
you go.
city.
They should want to, exactly, yeah.
Councilman O'Connell. O'Connell, I'm sorry.
I really think, we've talked about this, and I think staff has said they're fine with 200 feet. So what's wrong with adopting what the state has as 200 feet and saying that there is the potential of having incentive over 200 feet? And I think we need to be clear if we're going to talk about incentives,
I
that the
just
city is
second-
going to.
I'll second that.
Yeah?
Good. Sounds good.
Good.
Did you just say you recommended 300?
We're recommending 300 feet.
Okay.
But we're, as Jessica said, 200 feet would be fine too. That's what the state code is, that's what the council wants. As a staff, I think we would prefer 300 feet, but we can go with either or.
I'd like to make a motion that we stay at 200 at the states and talk about an incentive for over 200 feet at a later date.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on that? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
O'Neill, Connell,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes?
Thank you.
With that, what I am also looking for, because that's just resolving one piece,
Okay.
could there also be a motion, because that was the last piece to resolve, a motion to move the changes proposed to chapter 52 forward for an ordinance reading?
Okay. Jessica, just so that everybody's clear, since we've kind of, I'll say butchered this up with a lot of changes and a lot of talk. We've left it at 200 feet. We've left it at 2 acres. What wording have we actually changed? If, we put in 200 feet, what are we changing?
Well, I was gonna say, and that's where I direct you to, in total, I mean, there are a lot of changes, and that's where I direct you to the table of contents, which we went through, all of
Okay.
that at the
Weeks ago.
first meeting this was discussed, which I think was, it's been a
no
few
changes,
meetings
no
ago.
changes.
And so there are a number of, changes that are proposed,
Here they are.
to conformance to code, connection requirements, the sewer tap inspection requirement. The one thing that I do want to make note here, because I did forget to update this in what is here in your chapter 52. Originally, we were proposing changes to penalty, 52.99, and in the meantime, we learned that we cannot do that. So that though it's not reflected in here, would be $1,000, which is the maximum we can do under state code.
Looking at this, everything says no change, so I'm just wanting the council to make sure that they know what they're actually voting on. What specifically has changed? You've removed a lot
I
of-
mean, there's quite a few things that have changed. Bob, do you want to go through all of
It's
them?
been moved to 53.
If I'm looking at it, it
I think
looks
most
like,
of it's been moved to 53 is what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
there's a large chunk that's been moved to chapter 53, but there are a number of other things that we're required to do based on the new capacity and limits of the treatment plant. So.
Some of the other changes where we changed the wording from like sewer connections and stuff like that being under the responsibility of the city engineer's
Okay.
office versus my office, because that's the way we're currently doing it. Some of it was loading for the new treatment plant. We gotta have the current plan in
Right.
our current ordinance, and that hasn't been updated since the plant was put into service. Some toxic metals that were toxic pollutants we're not allowed to put in the system has been put in here. And then, we're gonna look at the septic thing, which we've got resolved, and then the penalty, which is gonna be $1,000, and it's currently $100.
Thank
And I
you
think
for-
on a permit thing,
Yeah.
for an industrial permit, I just changed the wording a little bit to up to 3 years the duration instead of at 3 years.
And the other large thing was basically allowing the water quality
Yes.
superintendent to review and make a decision related to an enforcement order and then ultimately having somebody appeal to the council if they chose to do so, rather than having the council take that first step. So that's the other large
Yeah,
thing.
it was written before as the council had to do every step. And we're just given the, have the council appeal anything or an industry can appeal anything I might do.
Yeah, we went through all this,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yep,
The only
exactly.
part we kept out was those two items
Yes.
that were on tonight, so I
Yep.
think, I would hope that everybody kind of was up to speed on that.
So basically, the part about septic, the wording's only gonna have the word 200 put in. I think it doesn't have anything in it.
No,
I
this
believe
is-
the current says 200 up,
Yeah, 300.
you know,
thought
if
it
you're
was-
using,
It says 300 currently.
well, 300
Ours
for
is-
force main and 300 if it's
Oh.
gravity, something to that
That's the
effect.
changes.
And we're
Prior
just
to that.
changing it to 200.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I do have a question though. I forgot I had notes written all over something else here and I forgot them. This doesn't discuss anything about being a grandfathered property. It just says, you got a septic. Basically, the way I read this is the city sends the X person a certified letter and they're required to hook up in 90 days. There's no verbiage that specifies this is triggered when your septic fails and you're within 200 foot.
The old ordinance did, and the new one is,
Well,
that has
and
changed.
I don't have that in front of me, but I believe the last sentence in that paragraph with, when you're pertaining to that was pertaining to the acreage requirement.
Well, see, we don't have.
Well, I'm just speaking about
Well,
the
it-
200 foot.
Well, and I think
Verbiage.
that's the whole thing, is it's not saying, this is not anything new, basically. State law has always been there, or not always been there. So we're not proposing anything that's new from state law. We're actually proposing putting 200 feet in there rather than just saying reasonable, because
Yeah.
reasonable is where there are different definitions. So we're basically stating what state code is by putting 200 feet in there. And so ultimately, nobody has to make that change except for when they go to the county sanitarian to apply for a new permit, and then would be denied because they're within that 200 feet.
Well, here's my concern. If you read this paragraph here, and one of you guys are gone or something, and somebody else takes it, whatever, as you read this paragraph, that's not made clear at all. It just says the city can make you hook up if you're within 200 foot. That's all it says.
Yeah,
There's no clarification
State
on.
law also says that too.
Yeah.
So there is no, for a septic that is functioning properly.
Well, I think what the difference is, you're talking about a rule and then how a rule is enforced. And so we are telling you that enforcement, we're not planning to go out and to order people to connect. And so from the operations aspect of things, that when that would trigger would be when something happened to a septic that was going to force somebody to apply for a new permit. That ultimately we're not going to require a connection until that happens. And so the rule is basically the same as what's there in state code, that if it's within 200 feet of a proposed building, that's where it should be considered available and a connection be made. But again, operational intent is that we're not planning to go enforce this, that it's when the action that would trigger that would be a septic system permit being
I
required.
think what.
A new
Councilmember-
septic system,
A
I
new,
bel- yes.
yes.
What Councilmember Cody's concerned about is in the old one that we don't have anymore because you've made some changes. There actually is a sentence that says that existing systems are grandfathered.
And that was under the minimum lot area. That wasn't
Yes.
actually in
No.
this paragraph. It was under
I
minimum
thought it
lot
was in that
area.
one at the very end of it. when
No,
it
it was
talks
under
about the
minimum lot area.
Now, I guess though, but basically as this reads, Bob, if my house has a septic system, if you came by and determined that there's a sewer line 150 foot away, based on this line and how it reads and what we're about to approve, it sounds to me like you could make me hook up if you wanted to.
Only my understanding.
There's
and I-
nothing
I've
here
been
that's-
looking through here while I'm standing
There's
up.
nothing here that says otherwise is the point. That's what I'm getting at here. There's nothing that discusses a property's non-conforming or grandfathered conformance until an event happens. That's the only thing that concerns me. I'm not saying that the city staff is going to go do this right this second, but a city staff, and we're all gone in 5 years, and who knows what's going on. Somebody might read this and say, "Wow, we need to get more people on the sewer system." We're sending Cody a notice. He's going to have to hook up. We're sending Bob down the street one. Yeah, we don't care if their septics work because that's the way I'm reading this.
I think we'd have to have a lot more staff before we'd be able to
Yeah.
take on that proactive enforcement.
But it could be done based on what this is saying, is the point. Am I wrong?
You can direct city staff to include that stipulation in that section in the same fashion that it's in the other section.
Well, I think that would clarify a lot of things.
And there's nothing that would prevent you from doing that. Be a simple fix, an easy drafting task, and
Well, I
could-
think it would take away a lot of the discussion that we just had if it just made a comment about that existing systems are grandfathered in unless they fail.
yes.
That sounds perfect.
So would someone like?
That,
would you like to
and that
put
way,
a-
any reader of this paragraph will understand fully exactly what is going on.
Shouldn't we have in that something too that has to be economically feasible?
Well, and
If
that's
you got a
where-
house here and the sewer's there and it's through 300 foot of.
And that's where the term reasonable still comes in, so
Okay.
we've kept the term reasonable in
Reasonable.
there. To wordsmith it, I would want to basically, you know, to, in that language, that, if there was a requirement to, obtain a permit from the county sanitarian. Because it's ultimately going to be the county sanitarian that, does the notification to us of who these individuals are and when this happens. So if that's, something that'd like to be added, we can
I
certainly
think
do
it'd be
it.
wise because you could find someone where their living has to spend $50,000 because they have to put a lift station in. At the top of the hill, there's a sewer, but is it realistic
Right.
to pump it to the
Yeah.
top of the hill?
And that's why we've said reasonable is still in there, because we know that there are going to be case-by-case decisions in terms of that, so, so that's where that word exists, so.
Who
That-
agrees on what's
can-
reasonable?
Well, yeah, but the reality of the whole thing, though, is that a new septic is gonna cost a lot more than hooking up to a sewer, whether it's 200 or 300 feet away. So, you know, we're defining logic when someone has to go put in a $15,000 or a $6,000 septic system, and it's only gonna cost them $3,000 to hook into the sewer. So I think, you know, it's a lot of semantics that we're actually making it a lot easier for them to not have to spend a lot of money on a new system, on a new septic system. So if I had to spend $5,000, $6,000 on a septic system, why would I want to grandfather it in when I can hook up to the sewer system for $3,000?
I'd like to get a little bit of clarification too. In the memorandum there, it said that the city's gonna pay for the cost of the connection over 200 feet. Are we actually gonna cover the full cost? Is that what you're proposing, or are we saying a shared cost?
A shared cost, that it
So
would
if
be
we're-
anything over 200 feet,
Are we
so.
including that in what we're doing now? or-
No.
That'll be addressed
No,
later.
we're
Okay.
gonna address that separately. We're just gonna deal with, basically, they wanna get chapter 52 and 53 finalized. So if we're gonna have incentives, it's a separate item altogether.
So do we need a new motion?
We have a,
Including-
if someone would like to, if. we-
Needs an amendment.
If you'd
Needs
like
an
to
amendment?
amend your motion, and, well, you could withdraw it and remake it if your second would withdraw.
Wait,
Well, I was gonna say, there was already a vote on
No.
Councilman
There was no vote
O'Connell's.
yet.
There was no vote yet.
Can't vote, no.
We never voted on it.
yeah, we did.
Yes,
Yeah,
did?
there was a, well, there was a vote at staying at 200.
and so this was
We
the
did vote?
discussion of moving all of
Yes.
We did.
chapter
Yeah.
52 forward.
Your Honor.
Okay.
But they said
Okay, well, then you have a new motion then, if you would like to put in the grandfathering clause.
I'll second it. Oh, I have to make the.
You have to
somebody-
make the motion.
Oh,
You're so moving it?
yes,
boss,
I'm
we're just
moving
writing on
that, that be, yes.
He's so moved, he's so moved to add that.
Second.
Okay, so now, I'm sure we don't need any more discussion on that, so.
I have a couple, but no.
So since I'd forgotten we voted on the first one, and we had such a long discussion, let's vote on adding the grandfathering clause for clarification in this. Could we please?
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Halsey.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, have we killed 52 enough? or-
I still
gotta
need a
vote on it.
motion to move the entire, to move all changes forward to that first reading.
Okay. Is there such a motion to move
I'll
this?
make the motion.
And we're just dealing with 52 now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, we're moving
I'll make
52
the motion,
as we,
yes.
the two amendments that we made to it, moving it
I'll
forward.
second it.
We have a motion and a second to move it forward. And I'm assuming no other discussion. If there is, stomp your feet or something. We'll have a roll call vote.
Councilmember O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Halsey,
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman.
Yes.
Okay, now we're gonna move to number 4, chapter 53, stormwater management. Jason?
I was gonna say, I put his name behind it, but again, I authored the memo on it, so I'll just address that. The one area that was an issue is 53.07, and if you'll look at the table of contents of what was originally the 53.07, I have struck that out and removed it and renumbered, and so I'm asking, that what remains before you hear of the changes to chapter 53 would be moved forward to a first reading.
Okay, well, what, on mine, it doesn't look like anything was, 5307 was struck out? 'Cause it
Yes.
doesn't look like
Yes.
anything is struck out. on
Well,
mine.
so 53.07 here in the table of contents
It's
was
just
struck
struck.
out,
So,
but
yeah.
then I renumbered it to where it was. So
Okay,
53.07
illegally discharged. Okay.
now becomes sedimentation and erosion control.
Okay. Councilmember O'Neill?